The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
All right, people, and welcome to the Daily Read. I'm your host, Marcus Gentry. Now, this country is moving, people. We've had a lot of strife out here. Finally, the looting and the rioting has kind of slowed down, and now people are coming to understand that this country has moved a long way from racism. I would like to tell all of my white friends, family members that have married into the family, people who don't espouse racism, I would like to tell you thank you personally for stepping forward, because I think America has seen that we don't have time for this. We the greatest country on this planet as of today, and in order to maintain that, we're going to have to maintain peace and civility amongst the different races that make up this country, and bigotry plays no part in that. On today's show, I'm going to talk about these flags and these statues. We got to have an understanding, people, that these flags should never have been allowed to be brandished after the Civil War. Those statues never should have been put in place after the Civil War. As I've told you on one of my previous shows, this country, when we won the Civil War, we never cut the head off the snake. We sent these people back home as heroes in their home. To us, they were traitors. But they got sent back home to a hero's welcome for being able to come back from the war. They might have been defeated, but the ideal that whites were superior than all other races was never defeated. And it has led up to what's going on today with our politics, with the president, with the Congress, with people who are trying to rewrite history. Let me tell you why. And this is for all the white people out there and some of you blacks. I've seen black people walk around with Confederate flag shirts, Confederate flag mugs. Listen, we are forgetting our bloody history. It has been a campaign going on in this country to turn the minds and hearts of this country towards the Confederacy belief. Today's show, I'm going to prove that to you. For all of you whites out there who really don't espouse racism and bigotry, but you feel like you're a country guy and you listen to a little country music, you wear your cowboy boots, your cowboy hat, and you thinking in your mind that going down somewhere and finding you a rebel flag or a Confederate flag, battle flag, is the right way to do it because it looks cool. To us, you look like danger. To us, you look like the enemy. To us, you look like a traitor. To us, you look like a bigot. Today's show, I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of you already understand and know why you wear the Confederate flags. Some of you blacks out there that are very intelligent, that run around here with these Confederate flags, I got a funny feeling that some of you blacks that run around out here with these Confederate flags, I believe in your mind, you think that whites are superior to us. You have given up your identity as a human being, and you think in your mind that white people are superior to you. God created man equally, regardless what color or shade you are. Nobody is superior to another man or woman. We got to get that understood. The Confederate had a doctrine that says all Negroes will never be free and are naturally subservient to white people. That's what that rebel flag stands for. I'm finna get into more detail about this because I think this is important. This is very important. I want y'all to listen to this.
The Southern Poverty Law Center found some 1,500 Confederate memorials across the country. More than 700 of them are statues and monuments, and 10 U.S. military bases are named for Confederate officers.
Think about that. There are US military bases named for Confederate officers, and they were the enemy. They killed US soldiers. That's like finding out that Nancy Kerrigan named her child Tonya Harding. Why would you do that? That's a weird choice.
That's John Oliver. I like John Oliver. He brings a comedic a comedian side to serious issues. He does what Dave Chappelle does. I love Dave Chappelle too. He makes sense. John Oliver is telling you, just like I'm telling you, people, the Confederate flags, the Confederate statues, they shouldn't even be here. But since they here, we need to put them in museums. Because all of these people running around here talking about this is their heritage. Okay, if it's your heritage, put it in a museum so you can take your generation of kids and grandkids to see your bloody heritage. I don't want to live under the shadow of that. And I don't know how in your mind you think that's a great thing to have a statue of men and women running around here that lost. Number one, they lost. Number two, they were traitors. Number three, they wanted to keep black men and women in slavery. Why would we want to see that? And again, I want to talk to my black people out here who run around here with these Confederate flags and Confederate stuff on the back of your truck. You might be a little black girl in high school dating a white guy, and you jump in his truck one day and he has a Confederate flag in the back window. You need to tell him, hey man, take that down, or me and you can't be together. Plain and simple. If he can't honor that, then that means he thinks he's superior to you. You see, this is what's going on, people. Let me break this down for all my people that like for me to break this down to you. The racists and the bigots are trying to change the tone. They're not spitting on you anymore. They're not lynching you too much anymore. The cops are doing that now. What they're doing is they've developed a system to where in their minds, they're going to deal with you. They're going to do business with you. Some of them might even have sex with you. But in their mind, white people are superior to you. That's what that whole flag is about. Later on in this show, we're going to talk about the Confederacy and how they had a doctrine when they broke off from the rest of the United States. Okay, they basically built them a constitution. In that constitution, they ratified that blacks would never be free. Blacks will always be subservient to whites. That's in their constitution. The same thing that rebel flag stands for. I'm gonna let that shit on your soul for a minute. Just think about it. This is real life. I'm gonna continue on.
Fact about the Civil War. The Confederacy was fighting for the preservation of slavery. And that's not my opinion. That is just a fact. There are many ways that we know this. Slavery is mentioned in multiple states' declarations of secession, with Mississippi saying our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. The Confederate Constitution contains a clause enshrining slavery forever. And then there's the speech Alexander Stephens, the Confederate Vice President, gave in 1861, in which he articulated the basic principles for the Confederate nation.
Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition.
That was the vice president of the Confederacy during a speech. He basically saying the Negro will always be subservient to the master or supreme race in his mind. Hope I'm getting through to some people out here. I know somebody's listening. You see, I was going to change up my format and give people small sound bites like a lot of these other talk shows do. They'll do 5-minute segments, 10-minute segments, because some people, they'll look at your show and won't even watch the whole thing and get all the information. They might watch the first 3 to 5 minutes and move on to something else. And that's sad, because everything I'm talking about today on this show is very important as to why we are out here in the streets right now. The Confederacy never lost its head. The Confederacy never had the head snatched from its body. That's why you got all of these damn statues everywhere. It never died. It only grew like a cancer under the surface of America. You got people with rebel flags in Wisconsin. What the hell is a rebel flag doing way in Wisconsin? Just think about that for a second. How the hell you gonna find some white guy on a farm in Wisconsin with a damn rebel flag? That's how far the hatred done spread across this country under the surface. It was almost like we was living in parallel worlds and it was bubbling over. We got systemic racism in this country through our politics, through our system, through our laws, through police. And the reason why we have this systemic racism is because the Confederacy never got stomped out. We beat them, but it never got crushed. It never got crushed, people. And now we living with the consequences of it today. I'm going to get into my first commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go further into detail about this, because I think this is important, people. We'll be back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
two sides to bigotry, and there are no two sides to hatred. And if you choose to march with a flag that symbolizes the slaughter of millions of people, there are no two sides to that. The only way to beat the loud and angry voices of hate is to meet them with louder and more reasonable voices. And that includes you, President Trump. In fact, as president of this great country, you have a moral responsibility to send an unequivocal message that you won't stand for hate and racism. Now let me help you write your speech here a little bit. As President of the United States and as a Republican, I reject the support of white supremacists. The country that defeated Hitler's armies is no place for Nazi flags. The party of Lincoln won't stand with those who carry the battle flag of the failed Confederacy. Was that very difficult? You see, I told you. I have a message to the neo-Nazis and to the white nationalists and to the neo-Confederates. Let me be just as blunt as possible. Your heroes are losers. You're supporting a lost cause. And believe me, I know the original Nazis. I was born in Austria in 1947, shortly after the Second World War. And growing up, I was surrounded by broken men who came home from the war filled with shrapnels and guilt, men who were misled into a losing ideology. And I can tell you that these ghosts that you idolize spent the rest of their lives living in shame. And right now, they're resting in hell. I know that you weren't born with these hateful views. No one is. But the truth is, it's never too late to make the choices, to learn and to evolve, and to understand that all human beings have equal value. If you say, Arnold, hey, I was just at the march, don't call me a Nazi, I have nothing to do with Nazis at all. Let me help you. Don't hang around people who carry Nazi flags, give Nazi salutes, or shout Nazi slogans. Go home. Or better yet, tell them that they're wrong to celebrate an ideology that murdered millions of people. And then go home. You're so lucky to live in a country that gives you every right to say horrible things. But think about how you could actually use that power for something good. Those of you who have been silent, you must also evolve. I have learned a long time ago that the only way we can really eliminate hatred is to face it head on. This is not always comfortable, of course, but stereotypes about racism, religion, gender, anything else, they're like cancer. If you had a tumor, you wouldn't quietly hope that it slowly disappears. You would sap the shit out of it with all the chemotherapy and cut it out and try every experimental treatment until it was gone. But this is no different. I mean, this is a difficult time for our country, of course. But I know that if we all have the courage to do something about it and to do the right thing, we come out stronger in the end. I've already donated some money to the Simon Wiesenthal Center, named after a great Nazi hunter, who I was lucky to call a friend. And I hope that you will join me by supporting your favorite anti-hate organization. Let's all commit right now to leaving the terrible ghosts of the past in the trash heap of history. That's where they belong. Now share this video if you think that hatred has no place in America. Let's terminate hate.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, people, we back with the Daily Read. I was talking on the first segment about the reason why we minorities, we black people in this country, want the rebel flags to disappear for good, and all of these statues either torn down or put inside a museum. If you want to preserve your heritage, that's fine. Preserve it in a museum. Get together some money. All of you Confederate lovers out there, you race car drivers that's mad because the NASCAR done stopped rebel flags from being put up. Put together some money. Build a huge coliseum somewhere in the South and place all of these damn statues inside of these museums. It's simple. You still got your heritage. You want to go visit that? Go visit it. Ain't nobody gonna mess with you. But see, what happens is you can't use those statues as a way to spread your hate if it's in a museum, because nobody's gonna see it but you. There's nobody gonna want to be part of that. I'm gonna continue on because John Oliver explained it the best. Like I say, he uses comedy, but he explained it so good.
If the Confederacy was not about slavery, somebody should really go back in time and tell the fucking Confederacy that. And yet, remarkably, many people think the Civil War was over something else.
When people were asked, what do they think the main cause of the Civil War is, 48% said mainly about states' rights. Only 38% said mainly about slavery. 9% said both.
You see, the reason why those numbers are so staggering, people, is because for decades, for over a century, they have been spreading their hate. And slowly over the years, monuments of these men have been popping up like they were just some great soldiers. And they teaching it to other people. They teaching it to other people. They teaching it to other people. You even got black people. I'm not even gonna call their names. You even got black people running around here with rebel flags on. They don't understand. And what's sad about it is the ones that do. The ones that do understand, it's even worse with them, because in their mind they probably think that white people are superior to them, and they riding with this garbage. This is why Black America want that stuff gone. We are an essential part of this country. And my kids and my grandkids shouldn't have to walk down to the Capitol to go handle some paperwork and see a statue of a man who fought to keep her great-great-great-grandfather in slavery. That's bullshit. Plain and simple. And it kind of teased me off because you people lie so good. The ones that walk around here with these Confederate flags screaming and hollering about it's your heritage. If it's your heritage, put it in a museum. Because statues are meant to uplift and honor people. Statues have nothing to do with history unless you put it in a museum. When you have statues outside, that's meant to uplift that person you put a statue of. It's meant to uplift that person. It's meant to honor that person. I don't honor that. Any one of these Confederate statues, I don't honor that. Why do I have to see it? We're going to dive deeper into this.
Ardently pro states' rights, but with some glaring exceptions. Notably, when northern states passed laws to help protect runaway slaves, the South wanted the federal government to override those states' laws. So they loved states' rights as long as they were the right states' rights. The wrong states' rights would be states' wrongs, wrongs which would need to be righted by the right states' rights. Look, to put it really simply, they just wanted to own black people and they didn't much care how. That's a fact. But that's a very hard fact for some people to accept, especially if a member of your family fought for the Confederacy. And sometimes the understandable desire to want to distance your relative from that cause can lead to people distorting the cause itself.
I hope y'all understood what this man is saying. And if you don't, I'm finna break it down to you. You got people out here lying to a younger generation of white people, telling these younger generation of white people that don't know nothing about slavery 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. You got people out here who know the truth, but they're lying to the younger generation, telling them that the Civil War was fought over states' rights. They're trying to make the government look bad. You know, the government is evil. They wanted to take our states' rights. When I hear people say that, I ask them, what was your state's rights? To hold slavery. Plain and simple. You wanted to uphold a state right to uphold slavery. It was some other things involved in that too, economic wise. But the vast majority of it was free labor. You wanted to enslave a population of black and brown people and do whatever you want to do with them. This is sick, people. There are some real sick people out here. And like I said, you got two type of racists. You got the passive racists who might say something slick out their mouth like, you people, instead of saying, oh man, you funny. He say, oh man, you people are funny. You know, those passive racists like that, that's some stuff that's ingrained in them because they live in a society that's basically been showing them that white lives matter more than black lives matter. But then you got those outright racists. These are the people that'll spit in your face, spit in your food, catch you somewhere by yourself and it's a group of them, they might do something to you if they think they can get away with it. Those are what you call outright racists. Ain't nothing passive about them. The most dangerous of most of that is because the outright racists, most of them will stay out somewhere in the woods, in a cabin or a trailer, gritting their teeth on what the country done became. You know, most of them people are solo dolo. Everybody else in America is moving on. They can be dangerous. Don't get it twisted. They can be some crazy dangerous people. But most of them, long as you don't go on their property, they're not going to bother you. And then the passive racists, they're going to try everything they can to get along with you. But the people that I'm more concerned about right now as a black American are these black people out here that's riding with this garbage. And mostly it's because of money. Money. As long as they can get ahead, they'll crush their whole nation of people under their boot and be subservient to a white supremacist. That's some cold stuff there. Those are dangerous people. You got to watch these people. It was a couple of shows back I did where there was a black girl. She was running around helping white people plant Confederate flags. I said to myself, she don't know her history. And if she does, she should know that that flag represents a race of people in this country who literally felt like they were superior to her. So if she knows that, then that means in her mind, she actually feels like should be subservient to white people. That's scary. This is some scary stuff, people. We living in dangerous times. And the reason why we living in dangerous times is because we as minorities in this country are going to rise up and burn this bitch to the ground. Now, mind you what I'm saying. I'm not going out here espousing fights. I'm not going out here telling people to go out here and riot. I'm just telling you, the American people, that things gotta change, because we're not going back. We're not going back to the lynchings. We're not going back to you spitting in our face. We're not going back to you calling us the N-word and walking off like ain't nothing finna happen to you. You will literally get smacked in the face or beat up. Or even worse, it might be a shootout. This country is sitting on a powder keg and there's a match in the White House. And he don't mind sparking at all, as long as he get what he wants, which is to stay out of jail. Because if he loses this election, the New York District Attorney is going to want to talk to him. I'm going to keep going because I want y'all to hear this little part right here. This is a white man. Let me set this up for you. This is a white man walking around with a Confederate flag and a group of black people confronting him. They basically asked this man, why is you running around here with this damn Confederate flag? He's screaming and yelling, this my heritage. Okay. How come it's not in your house in a case? Like I have my mother's flag right here. I'm proud of it. She served this country well. It's in a case. If I wanted to take it out this case and hang it up on the wall, that's fine. But this is the country that won right here. The Confederate States didn't win. So if that's your heritage, put that in the museum. So you and your kids and anybody you want to teach hatred to, you can take them to that museum. You can tell all the lies you want to tell them when you take them in that museum and see all of these statues. You can tell them about Beauregard this and Beauregard that and such and such the third was a valiant soldier. You can tell them all you want to tell them in a museum. Matter of fact, you could be the museum curator. You can go around collecting all of the Civil War artifacts you want and put them in the museum. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But we shouldn't have to be subjected to seeing that. Out of respect and love for your fellow American, we shouldn't have to be subjected to that. But I want to get into this guy before I go to my next commercial break. This is some crazy. It's funny, but it's crazy and real at the same time. Listen to this.
Why do you carry that flag? Because this is my heritage. My family fought to save their farm under this flag. Who was working that farm?
Oh, that is a good, tough question. And the news clip actually cut out there, but we were so intrigued to find out what his response was. We tracked it down. And whatever you are expecting, you're going to be surprised.
Who was working that farm?
My family was.
Who was working the farm?
They were poor. Do you know how much a slave cost back then?
Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! You know you are in the wrong when you decide your best argument is screaming at a black man. Do you know how expensive you used to be? It is comments like that one that landed this guy on the cover of Holy Shit, that is not remotely the Point magazine.
You see, this is foolishness. This is foolishness. And he was probably taught by somebody in his damn family. Instead of him being taught the right way in his family, that flag right there that's hanging up on Pawpaw Garage back there, that flag was because we wanted to preserve our state's rights to hold slavery. They probably didn't teach him that. They boosted his head up like the Confederacy was this valiant cause fighting against oppression of the government. And in his mind, he really thinks this. The black man just asked him, man, who the hell was working on your damn farm? It was slaves. You carrying around a treacherous traitor flag and proud of it. This is foolishness. I'm going to get into this next commercial break, and when I get back, we're going to finish this up. We're going to talk about these statues. I talked about the flag, but we're going to talk about these statues, people. This is important because the statues need to come down too. Not just the flags need to be put up or put in a museum, but these damn statues gotta go. They gotta go, people. And some of y'all decent white people out there who know the truth, it's time, man. It's time for y'all to step forward and put your foot down. And just say enough is enough, man. Let's get this over with. Get you some cranes. Get you some concrete. Man, look, I'm a truck driver. And if they tell me they finna take all of these damn statues down and put them in a museum, I'll be the first one to volunteer to help you build that museum. The first one. Because I want to see them damn statues gone so fast, I will help you lay the bricks down to put that museum together. Period. With no problem. But we gotta change our mindset, people. It's almost as if the Confederacy won. They lost. They lost. I'm gonna get deeper into this when I get back off this commercial break. We'll be back.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The men who followed this flag 150 years ago knew what it meant. Treason against their country. The death of the United States. America defeated the men who followed that flag. Those with honor surrendered and cast it aside forever. So why does it keep showing up today at events supporting Donald Trump? And why does he call the folks who carry it very fine people?
I think there's blame on both sides, but you also had people that were very fine people.
What does it say that they're all in for Trump? What does it say that he won't condemn a flag of hate, division, and losers? For us, it says this is a time for choosing America or Trump.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, people, we're back with the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. I was talking earlier about the flag. I think it's important that people seek out the truth and understanding about this flag. It's a traitor's flag. They tried to break from the country. It has a bloody history, a bloody past. We need to leave it alone. And if you out there are listening and you got taught by your papa or your granddad or your uncle, you know, sitting around a bottle of moonshine or something, he telling you about these old stories about how the South rose up against the oppressive North, tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Don't just tell them it was about states' rights. Let them know what them states' rights was. Let them know that you was keeping somebody in bondage. Let them know that. That way they can make a conscious decision to keep riding with this foolishness. Because that's what it is. And for you minorities out there that's running around here with these Confederate flags hanging all up in your window. You go out here to these little country bars where you're dating some little white girl and, You buy this old rebel flag t-shirt. Know your history. Study some. And some of you minorities that do that, y'all be some of the most educated people I know. And when I see you with these belt buckles with rebel flags on them, these t-shirts, you in a bar somewhere, and you just laughing and yucking it up, it makes me sick. Because you ain't getting it. Them people wear the rebel flag because they think that you're subservient to them. You wearing it because you think you're cool and you want to be one of them. In the back of their mind, they laughing at your goofy ass. They laughing at you. They probably go behind closed doors and get in their car later on and be like, man, you know, old Dave, man, he's a good guy, man, but he would have been a good slave if the South would have won. If the South would have won, he would have been a good slave. He's loyal. He's loyal to the cause. That's how they think of you. I wish I had that clip of that young black girl that's from New York. She moved to Virginia and started running around with a bunch of white people planting Confederate flags everywhere. It hurt me. It hurt my heart to see that. It hurt my heart to see that, people. Because she didn't understand. And if she does understand it, it breaks my heart even worse. Because that means she actually thinks that she's supposed to be subservient to white people. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she just don't know no better. But there's some people out here that know better. They know better. There's no man that's superior to me, period. You might be able to run faster than me, but there's other things I can do better than you. There is no race of people that's superior than another race. None. And the faster we get that understood in this country will be again the greatest country on the planet. Right now, we on shaky legs. I'm finna get into these statues, because this talk about these statues is very important. I'm gonna go back to my guy, John Oliver. He's funny.
While some initial memorials were built mainly in cemeteries shortly after the Civil War, the real surge came much, much later.
The Southern Poverty Law Center says a majority of the more than 700 Confederate monuments in public spaces across the country were erected decades after General Lee's surrender.
It's true. As this chart of the years that they were dedicated shows, there was a big spike from 1900 to 1920 as white Southerners were reasserting their dominance through things like Jim Crow laws, with another spike in the 50s and 60s as the civil rights movement was gaining steam. So those statues weren't so much commemorating recently fallen dead as sending a pretty hostile message to African Americans. And sending messages is kind of what statues are often for. This one says, "We love freedom." This one says, "The most notable thing about our city is a fictional character." and this one says, "About yay big." We still don't know what he was trying to measure, but whatever it was about yay big. But look, for some Confederate statues, though, the intent is crystal clear. In that town meeting from before, the statue that they were debating was this one, which went up in 1914.
Again, people, these statues are meant to uplift traitors. Who does that? That lets you know that these statues was meant to intimidate and honor the Confederacy. It was meant to intimidate blacks, honor the Confederacy, and it's been slowly spreading like a virus through this country. Now you got people all the way up in Minnesota and Wisconsin and New York and Maine running around with rebel flags, Confederate flags. These were strongholds of the Union Army. So how in the hell you got Confederate flags in these states? Why you got statues all over the place of these fallen men who done served in an army that rebelled against the United States because they wanted to keep slavery and do their own thing? This is preposterous. I'm pulling out the big words. This is crazy, preposterous, lunacy. And I think the American people are finally waking up to this. Because like I say, when I first started this show, to all of my white friends out there, I want to thank you. Because I was so proud when I looked out over Nashville. And I want to say something about Taylor Swift too. She stepped up. But when I looked out over Nashville and I saw thousands of whites and blacks, people of all colors walking and protesting, it was wonderful. My heart soared, because I ain't gonna lie, people, for a long time, when this thing first jumped off, when George Floyd first got murdered, it actually started with Aubrey. I was upset about that, him and Breonna Taylor. But when everything kicked off, in my mind, I'm thinking something's coming big. They finna make a push. The Confederacy is finna make a push to take over this country. But when I seen all of them thousands of people marching, I knew that if they tried that, it's gonna be another civil war in this country and they're gonna lose again. Because we too integrated into the military, into the police force. And don't think for 1 second, because you got a lot of blacks that are running around here espousing white supremacy talking points, don't think for 1 second that every black police officer is going to keep going along with this foolishness. Don't think that military soldiers, white and black, who serve across seas with each other, watching each other's backs, fighting off Taliban and all kinds of Al-Qaeda members, don't think they finna come back and allow racism, segregation, slavery, and all kinds of stuff like that to keep going on in this country. It's not going to happen. If the Confederacy try to rise again, you're going to get stomped in the ground this time. It's going to be done. It's going to be a lot of people die. But when the smoke clears, you're going to be done. I got a couple of more segments before I end this.
And a leader of that county's chapter of the KKK gave a speech at its dedication, calling the occasion an opportunity to recall the achievements of the great and good of our own race and blood, which again is pretty on the nose right there. And the largest Confederate memorial, the carving on Stone Mountain in Georgia, is located where the 20th century KKK was born. It depicts 3 Confederate leaders on horseback, and it was completed in 1972. So that means there is color footage of the dedication.
After nearly half a century of work, the memorial carving here at Stone Mountain is finally finished, and officials are calling it the 8th wonder of the world.
We must recall those principles of loyalty, dignity, and honor that shine through the lives of men we commemorate today.
Yes, that was Vice President Spiro Agnew commemorating the loyalty of literal traitors.
Now, this is what I mean, people, when I say that them statues need to come down and be put in museums. Because when you put statues out of people, you're honoring them. We shouldn't be honoring people who are traitors and slaveholders. Put it in a museum. If you want to honor somebody who's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. honor somebody who creates a vaccine that cures AIDS or cancer. You want to build statues up and honor people? Honor them in a good light. These statues right here, they need to be in a museum. I'm not trying to take your history. I'm telling you to put these statues and this history where it needs to be, so you and your ilk can go see it. Because me and my ilk don't want to see it. That's a stain on America. And if you can't get that, it's something wrong with you. Period. You done lost a couple of them up there. You got a few screws loose. Or you know exactly what you're doing and you dangerous. On that note, I'm going to end today's program, and I hope everybody have a blessed Sunday. I love you all, and we going to make America great without Donald Trump. Peace.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.